So my name's Hayden Evans. I'm design director and designer at Blank in Oslo. I have 20 years experience as a designer. I've started up 2 design companies, one in England and one in Norway, and I'm currently working at Blank in Oslo.
Yes, I'm Lee Frost, a mere 15 years experience to Hayden, but also a graphic designer at Blank. Lots of experience making UX and branding, design strategy, and lots of other good things.
A little bit about Blank. We are 5 years old. As we said, we're based in Oslo. And we're about 50 people. We're not wanting to grow any further than that really. We're happy with the size that we are. We're working with both design and technology products. We're consultants working with a broad number of different clients. Here you can see a couple of examples. There's Remarkable, which you've probably heard of, the drawing tablet, and Ruter, which is Oslo's public transport service. We've been working with them for the last couple of years. And we also work with other companies like Gjensidige Insurance and Posten, which is one of the companies we'll be talking about today. On a very different angle, we've also worked with the musical artists Kharpa. Recently, last year, we helped them launch their new album and a range of concerts and special events where we used kind of a very interesting mix of technology, communication, media, and graphic design, to name but a few things. It was a really fun project that Lee and I got to work on with some really talented technologists in Blank. Yes, the focus today, as we said, is in transit, and our interpretation of the brief is both looking at the transition of a big organization that is, by the way, 375 years old. That's Posten and Bring. But also, as the introduction said, we're also looking at the transit of products and services. Yeah, Posten is an old company. As often in many countries, the post office is amongst the oldest organizations and services that are running. And in Norway, that's no different. When we started working with Posten, we realized that they were undergoing quite dramatic changes as an organization. It was brought about through the implementation or the phasing in of new policy and laws and regulations that opened up the market of logistics and delivery of parcels and letters to other companies like PostNord, USP, and the likes, not to mention the threat of Amazon and Wish moving in and muscling in and starting to knock on the door. In fact, this week in Sweden, Amazon have launched Amazon.se. So it called on Posten to rethink the way that it delivered its services and how it would compete in a very different looking market. So this is where I came in and started to work with Alexander Hanning, who is the Vice President and leader of the Digital Innovation Lab, or Hub as they call it, in Oslo. And here you see a picture from the early days. I started working at Posten in February 2019, and everything was working from scratch, really. We were literally building as we arrived. Here you see a delivery of IKEA furniture that we were all putting together so that we could have some place to work. But I think that says something about the attitude and the culture that Alexander is building at Posten. It's been really good fun working with them. But before we show you the service that we've been working on, want to zoom out a little bit and look at some of the important factors and trends that have informed the work and the eventual service that we've developed and launched. This is nothing new to anybody, but obviously with globalization, the advent of e-commerce and that growing day for day, the death of the high street is a well-known phrase, something that affects the kind of the fabric of our urban cities and neighborhoods, where small companies and shops and producers struggle to essentially keep in business. So we thought that this was an interesting and a bit of a difficult and scary trend that we wanted to look further at, and see if we could turn the trend and make it look a little bit more like David and Goliath. So we started talking to shop owners and producers in and around Oslo. Oslo's, like many capital cities in the world, has a wealth of great independent artisan shop owners, and we talked to not just food and drink practitioners, but also people working with clothing, other product areas. We got to know them, and we found out that they were struggling based on the trends and factors that I've just mentioned. Things like difficult for their customers to get in close to the shops due to parking issues. Obviously, online organizations and services like Colonial and Amazon stealing business or making it more difficult for them to be competitive. So we also identified opportunities here. And not to mention, we also were out and about talking to people to find out where we could help out in a busy day-to-day. What services could we provide that bind some of these trends and factors together, and see if we could offer something of value to carve out a new opportunity and create a new service for Posten to be part of and facilitate. Yeah, and ultimately, we as we are working for Posten and Bring, which is essentially the same organization, we had to make something and build something that was sustainable and viable as a business proposition. So with those factors communicated, we would like to move on and talk a little bit about the team who put this together and how we went forward from there.
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't just me and Hayden making this, luckily. We also had backing from Posten and Bring. So we had Jimmy and Sven, who are employees there, but also Boitano, Code Marker. So we have Torkil, Alf Christian, August, and Kristin, who've been helping us build this product together. So Amoy is born, but what actually is Amoy? Well, Amoy is a marketplace that we built that can help support these local shops, services, products, somewhere where we can have a great infrastructure behind us, that we can get these things out to people easily, and basically build that on that network. So helping these small companies get out there. So as part of building this, we've developed our own front-end system of shopping. We've also built the back end that supports the shops and lets them work with us. We've devised the branding, we've drawn the illustrations, animations ourselves, and this is developing as we go on. The hope for the future here is that Amoy will grow into having more services and more products and more different areas of expertise. We can also eventually think about how we complete the circle. So we can do recycling, pick up pant, for example, rentals and different kind of things like that.
Yeah, and this is part of the development of the concept. Obviously, we were out and about having to talk to shops, but also sell in the concept. And once Lee and I and the team had put together different prototypes and sketches of what this service could look like, I mean, when you're part of a startup team, you have to do things that are kind of over and above your job description or your title, which we really love. And one of the things that I had to do was kind of go out and sell this thing. So knocking on the doors of prospective partners. And in fact, Tim Vendible is an example of that, who I think is providing the coffee. I'm not sure today, but he was one of the guys whose door I knocked on. And this is a picture from me kind of sitting down at Mathallen, which is like a food hall in Oslo, and selling the concept of Amoy. Luckily, it was an attractive proposition, and the shops kind of bit our hand off, really. And so that was a nice experience for the main part.
So then we just got started. We had the team. We literally had the last desk come in the office so we could all sit together, just about to start and build this great new startup. And that's exactly when Corona hit. So we all got sent home. We're trying to kind of struggle building this startup with people that we only just started working with, working remotely, trying to build these relationships, kids running around, trying to homeschool at the same time. So that's kind of, it was an interesting kind of way of building this together and forming a team. But at the same time, we realized that the Corona situation also had a big knock-on effect for the people that we were working with, the stores. And it made what we were building even more important, really, to try and help them and get their products out. So another thing about working from home is that suddenly, instead of sitting next to your colleague and you can work and then you can say, hey, can you look at this? And you can kind of design together. Suddenly we're sitting 10 miles apart. And luckily at that time, we found Figma, which we kind of embraced wholeheartedly on this project. And Figma is a design software that allows you in real time to work on the same artwork. And this has been really useful for particularly me and Hayden, where you have to kind of learn how to work together a little bit again, where you're kind of not stepping on each other's toes. You kind of have to let go of a little ego sometimes, where you can kind of, someone else can see your work before it's finished necessarily, or maybe can kind of interact with what you're making. But ultimately, I think we've found this to be a really great way, particularly in these times of building something together kind of really efficiently and get to a higher level much quicker.
I agree.
So then we had this task of building this Amoy infrastructure. Like Hayden said, we've worked with Poston very early on to build this level of trust within the organization, where we as a team on Amoy were given full rein to both steer the development of the product and the service as we saw fit, but also build the brand and build the experience. So within this organization, we've ran concept and strategy workshops, brand kind of workshops. We've built the name, all these things we've kind of built from scratch, which has been really fun. The full reign that we had from Poston has been kind of been really nice. Sometimes we like to kind of test that a little bit. So one example is when I decided that a good brand color for Amoy would be the main rival to Poston's blue. And then we got the kind of pat on the shoulder from Big Brother saying, okay, maybe you pushed us a little bit too far this time. The support that we've had from Poston has been really great. And it's helped us kind of develop this in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I'm always one of the first times that the post office Poston has allowed a brand to sit independently alongside the mother brand. So it has been a great opportunity.
Then we realized quite early on that if we were going to support these great kind of local producers who are specialists in their craft, that having this traditional photography of how you sell things online with this kind of bleached white light box kind of look, typical that you see on Amazon or Colonial or many other places, I wasn't really going to showcase kind of someone who's kind of handmade some beautiful sourdough bread or some great filleted fish or something. Yeah. So we decided that we were going to make our own photographs. So myself, Hayden, and our photographer Paul went out and endeavored to take all the photographs of all the products that we put on the site ultimately. So this is hundreds and hundreds of pictures of fish and grain and cheese. So we spent many evenings cutting and photographing and also trying lots of cheeses. But that was really nice to have that kind of control and make sure that the quality of these products kind of came through. I think one of the funny things now about this is that I'm pretty sure we have one of the largest databases of fish photography in the world now. But we'll see if we make a book one day of that to support us. Yeah, we talked a little bit about how we work as a team and how there's many different roles. So when you're in a startup like this and you're only 8 people, we all have to kind of chip in and we all have to do different jobs. We can't just stick to our roles. A really nice example of that is Kristin, who's our system developer, who also is our main copywriter on Amoy. And here is a photograph of her with her pet pig, who is quite vocal most mornings on our morning stand-ups. So there's a nice shout out to them. Yeah. In doing this, we've tried to concentrate on building not just a website, of course, but we're thinking about the customer kind of life cycle as a whole. So that's meant obviously producing stickers for the shops and feedback cards that we can give out, and lots of different things that we can do to support the experience of Amoy, not just when you buy online, but when you also receive the products, for example. This has meant myself many times getting on my bike and running around Oslo as a courier service, delivering stickers to shops and taking orders and all these other things. Also in support of, it's great to have a good photographer and take really nice pictures, but we see that sometimes shops have an urgency of getting something to market quickly. So we need to have a flexibility there where we can also take pictures quickly if needed. So the picture in the bottom left is a picture of a light box that we have where I can take pictures of products if we need to get something on the website very fast. This is an example of me this week taking pictures for Open Bakery. Yep. So these products were couriered to me so that I could take the picture, and I had to do it in the evening. And this is my kids very excitedly waiting to devour the sweets after I'd managed to take the photograph.
Yeah, and one little story as well, which is kind of talking a little bit about the effect of the service and Amoy that we've got. I think we've got about 16 shops now either on board or coming soon to be on board. And this is Frode, who runs Ost og Sant in Oslo Marthallen. And he came back to us a couple of weeks ago and said, guys, you know, you're not only driving my business up online, but you're also getting people to come into my shop that never knew I even existed, which is one of the kind of the goals for our project when we first set out. So that's a nice little story to share.
Yeah, I think we always kind of had this idea that we wouldn't be taking away traffic from the stores. People wouldn't not go to Marthallen because you can also buy it on the web. But we're supporting these stores and we're adding to the proposition that they can give.
And you can, the great thing about Amoy is that you don't just shop at the cheese shop. You can also go to the bakery, you can go to Tim, you can get your coffee, and we'll pick up all of those different products from the closely linked shops in that local area, put them together and then deliver them out to you where you are outside of Oslo, for example. So yeah, it's a very nice thing. And one last story before we round up is our, we call it the scone or the scone controversy, which we have an open policy in Amoy. If you've ever worked in a startup, you realize the value of feedback. Without feedback, you're nothing. It's never going to get any better, and you have to listen to that feedback. But this is an example where a guy who got very, very annoyed with the fact that we sold scones that had things like raisins and hazelnuts in it, and he thought he'd been to Scotland and this isn't what he'd expected when he delivered these things home. So we got a very strict and abrupt mail from him, but you know, it's feedback and we have to listen to it, and yeah,
and quite frankly, he's right.
It's right. Yeah, well, and as we come from England, I think we know what a good scone is. And finally, I just want to kind of underline the importance of when you're embarking on something like Amoy, in entrepreneurskap, as it's sometimes called, essentially building a startup in a big organization like Posten. You need backing from the top, and that we've definitely got that. We've been very lucky in that respect. Tone Ville, who is the CEO at Posten, she's talking about the fact that we just won an innovation award. Posten had, and Amoy was one of the reasons why they received that. So it's good that they're so vocal, not only internally within the organization, but also in social media and beyond. So what's the future for Amoy? Where are we taking this now? As I said, we still got backing from leadership, and this is going to keep moving, keep on developing. We'll be adding services, some of the things that Lee was talking about circular economy. We're looking at helping people repair, reuse, recycle, services that build on that. And we'll be broadening the product categories that are available on Amoy, on the platform. New towns potentially as well, and who knows, countries as well. So we're excited to see what will happen, and Lee and I, looking forward to the future.